Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Zoom edition of ATI. Dan with Brian, Cam, and Matt. Cam, thanks for joining us. We haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a long time, and I'm really excited to talk some sports because, quite frankly, I haven't had anybody to talk sports with. Not that there's a whole lot to talk about, but it'll be nice to finally get it all out there.
There hasn't been much to talk about, but I feel like this week we actually have some interesting topics to get to. So let's just jump right in. I want to start with the bombshell that seemed to happen really quickly this week, and that is Gronk being traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to team up with Tommy down in Tampa. This all seemed to come together pretty quickly. So the Patriots still owned his rights. Gronk only wanted to play if it was going to be in Tampa with Tommy. The Patriots make the trade. The trade doesn't seem like a very good deal for the Patriots, but we'll get all of your takes on it. They're only getting a fourth-round pick? Is that basically what the trade is?
Yeah, it's a fourth-round pick, but, I mean, he's not even going to play, I don't think. I mean, I think he's going to go through training camp. He gets hit once because, a month ago he said he had 8 concussions or something crazy and all these surgeries. And he's like, I can't even, the ones that I remember, and then I'd be blacked out for a bunch of them. He's going to take a couple hits. And, I mean, he used to look like me or Matt. And now he kind of looks like Matt Lodi. The guy's lost some weight. I mean, he's got to put on.
Excuse me, Rob Gronkowski never looked like you or Matt.
I don't know. I got some pictures,
he's ripped, anyway.
But yeah, I mean, the guy lost 60 pounds.
He's up to 265
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gained a lot of weight back.
Yeah, well, what's he got in his pockets? Brad Williams.
You never know. Hey, it doesn't matter how the weight goes up, right?
Yeah, well, see what happens. I mean, he's also been out of the game for a while. Maybe that's good. Maybe he had some injuries that healed. I don't know. But, I don't know. See what happens. I don't think he's going to be as much of an impact as people think he is. I mean, yeah, he's a great tight end, but he left for a reason. And I think, it's an act, the whole I'm an idiot Gronkowski thing. And the guy's smart with his money. That's a pretty, well-known story. But, I mean, if he has any more health issues, he's just going to say, I'm good. Maybe he can do it for 1 year. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting, right? So I'll admit, it wasn't as big a bombshell to me because as soon as what they got was, but as soon as the Buccaneers said they wanted to trade O.J. Howard, I immediately was like, all right, trade Gronk for O.J. There might have to be some more things in there, but get a young athletic tight end that has a lot of potential for a guy that, what's the other option? You either trade him or he's going to retire and you're just going to have to hold his rights for basically nothing.
Right.
So when I looked at it that way, I wasn't shocked he got traded to Tampa because like a week and a half ago, that was in my mind. The other side of it is what they got. It comes back to the same thing of, well, what else was Gronk going to do? Gronk was going to sit there. He was going to sit at home with the girlfriend and do nothing. Or you get a fourth-round pick that maybe turns into a guy that plays 100, 150 snaps this year and does something productive, maybe has a key sack in the 8th week of the season. I don't know.
It's not conditional, right?
No, it's 100%. Patriots and Gronk in a 7th for a 4th. I have no idea why the 7th is in
the 4th this year, like it's going to happen this weekend?
Yeah, it'll be Saturday afternoon, probably around 4 o'clock with all the draft issues.
What do you think, Cam?
Well, the move didn't really surprise me a whole lot, but at the end of the day, I mean, I was talking to a few people about it. I think people had unrealistic expectations about this. People were saying that why didn't they get a player in return? Well, quite frankly, Tampa Bay doesn't know what they're getting. I think that's what it really comes down to. You're getting a guy who hasn't played a football game since the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. He allegedly has gained back about 60 pounds of weight. That is a big deal. But like Brian said, I mean, I don't think that he's going to be a key player. I don't think he's going to come back and turn into the player that he once was. Even if he only plays a few snaps a game, I think that's worth it for Tampa Bay given what they gave up. I think a 4th-round pick is it's underwhelming, especially for Patriots fans who are so used to getting their way over the last few years. But can we be serious? I mean, this is the pick this is the return that I think everybody should have expected for moving Gronkowski.
And I find it really entertaining that, and don't get me wrong, at first I was like, oh yeah, Gronk, Brady, that's great. Put them together down in Tampa. He walks in, he's 5th on the depth chart of receivers at best right now. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, 2 top 20 receivers in the game. O.J. Howard, budding talent. Cameron Brate's one of the best red zone tight ends right now in football. Gronk, as a year off, like Cam said, and we don't know what he saw. The last we saw of him, he made one catch in that Super Bowl and like 4 catches. Yes, it was a big catch. But then he made like 3 or 4, big catches again the week before. But he really wasn't the same. He said he played with multiple injuries, his shoulder, his knee, his back, all that through that season.
He had a year off. He's going to be fresh. He's the only receiver or tight end on the Tampa roster that has any kind of history or chemistry with Tom Brady. And they obviously have terrific chemistry. Do I think he's going to be the Gronk of old? No, he's going to be an old Gronk. But I think it's going to work out pretty well for them down there. I think this was a great gamble by Tampa Bay. And I think it's going to, whenever football is played again, I think this is going to help. That offense is going to be really good in Tampa.
I also think Tampa Bay's front office is possibly bottom 5 in the league in drafting. So they're not going to pick a stud in the 4th round anyway. So, yeah, this is great from them.
They should take Bo Jackson.
See?
It also seems perfect for Gronk because I think one of the reasons, along with all the injuries, that Gronk ultimately retired was that he was tired of the Patriot way, basically, and playing for Bill Belichick, the hard ass. Bruce Arians is like the ultimate player coach. There's not going to be that much discipline. He can say whatever he wants. He's going to be down in Florida where the warm weather, and he's going to still be playing with the only quarterback he's ever played with, Tom Brady. So it seems like it's a good gamble for Tampa and for Gronk. If he was going to come back, this seems like the ideal situation.
Is he still wrestling, or did he lose the title already? I know there was an
title.
empty stadium where he pinned somebody and won I don't know what the hell it was, but he won
24/7 title.
Yeah. So did he lose it already?
No, it's all his. He's going to Conor McGregor it and just kind of walk away with it.
Make some shitty whiskey while he's at it.
Wrestling contract.
Wrestling and UFC contracts are very It's like, yeah, you have a deal. It's basically like, don't get caught doing cocaine or steroids. That's basically all the contract is.
Which pretty much they all get caught using cocaine and steroids.
Yeah.
Don't they all use steroids?
Well, we'll get to it in a second about The Last Dance, but I guess the Bulls, when they drafted Jordan, used to partake in the nose candy too. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah, he talked about that in the first episode.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's a rookie outside, don't worry. And he opens the door, and wow.
That was every team back in like the late 70s, early 80s in the NBA, I think.
Yeah, they used to have the finals on tape delay because the league was just a bunch of cokeheads and nobody cared about them.
Yeah, before Magic and Bird. And we'll get to the Bulls. We'll end the show with talking about that documentary. But so where does this leave the Patriots now? We can kind of transition to the NFL draft and still kind of be thinking about Gronk and Brady leaving the Patriots. But where does this leave the Pats now as far as what they're going to do in the draft? And are the people that are pissed off at Gronk being irrational fans?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. The whole draft conversation, which I love, and this has been the most exciting time leading up, and I couldn't sleep last night because I was so excited because it's finally something live. I mean, I'll be honest. The Patriots should draft a quarterback somewhere during the 3 days. They should draft offensive line help. They should draft a playmaker, whether it be at the running back or wide receiver or tight end position. But we all know they're going to draft some rugby player out of Rutgers. They're going to draft some bum out of Division III Dan Master State University, and they're going to end up being all pros. That's the frustrating part about being a fan of the draft and a fan of the Patriots, is the two don't go together. Because no matter what GM Belichick thinks is so much different. And I can't complain because it's worked, but it just doesn't make sense.
So his approach to the draft is not going to be any different this year, you don't think? Even though the fact that, let's face it, they're entering a rebuild for the first time in 2 decades.
I mean, I'll let the other two hop in too, but my final thought is, in theory, trade Joe Thuney to the Browns for the number 10 pick like you want. Then take that 10 and 23 and try to get one of the top quarterbacks. That would be what I do, and start your rebuild automatically. But that's not going to happen.
I don't think you bring in a rookie quarterback right away. I think that, not that Stidham has a ton of experience, but I think you roll with him for a year, see what you got. You know, you do have a lot of other deficiencies in other places. Address those in the draft. And then after this year, because, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of expectations this year. So, you know, you're still in a division with the Jets and, you know, the Dolphins, and Buffalo's better. But I mean, I think he can still go. I think even Vegas picks these guys to go at least 500, which with a 17-game season, the way it is, you're probably going to be in the playoffs. You get a shot. I mean, you're not going to get that bye anymore because now the bye is very, very difficult to get because I think only one team gets it now. But you're going to make the playoffs. And, I mean, a lot of the guys the Patriots have plugged in there temporarily. It's like, who the hell was Matt Castle? Who was these guys? And it's very easy to go, oh, they're going to go 8-8. But if they go 10-6, or will it be 10-7 now, or 11, whatever the math works out to there, I think they're going to be okay. And I think if it doesn't work out, the end of the season you put in Hoyer, and then then you draft a quarterback next year. But I mean, Matt knows the draft a lot better than I do. There might not be no prospects next year. I don't know.
Oh, there's a top quarterback prospect next year.
Yeah,
There's
so
two of them.
like
There's two of them.
the Raiders are talking about this guy Love now that they like, and I'm like, I have no idea who that is because I don't watch college football. But they're like,
Feel free to take him.
he'll get
Josh
drafted.
Allen 2.0.
He'll get drafted later on. As long as he's not like Matt McClung, will be all right. So,
What do you think, Cam?
I agree with aspects of what both of you just said, but I think I more or less side with what Brian was talking about. Roll with Stidham, roll with Hoyer if you have to, if that just seems to be working. See what happens for a year because, like you said, Brian, expectations are not that high. On the other hand, I think that it would be nice to see the Patriots be aggressive and try to trade up tonight and try to get a quarterback, try to be aggressive, pick somebody who maybe could jump into the system next year. But history kind of shows Bill Belichick very active at the NFL draft, but doesn't typically trade up. I don't think that he's going to. I'm expecting him to, if anything, trade down, as we've seen him do many times in the past. So I think that you kind of just have to roll with what you've got going into next season and roll with Stidham.
Yeah, a part of me thinks like now that they're in the rebuild, Belichick's going to make some big moves tonight. But then I'm like, why would he change the way that he's been running his program for the last 20 years? He's probably just going to stick with the system, stick with what's brought him 6 Super Bowls. It's going to be fascinating tonight. I think it's going to be a really interesting draft.
I'm really intrigued because I think this draft has the opportunity, just in a broad picture, to go one of two ways. Obviously, with it all online, there's actually odds on will the draft be hacked by someone outside, which I think is just hysterical. But I think this draft will either be the most chaotic ever because people are going to be trading left and right, jumping around, doing everything because they don't know what's happening, or it'll be the most stand pat. If you have the first pick, you have 1, 2, 3. There won't be jumping around just because teams don't know what they're doing. And
is there a guy like Wojnarowski in the NFL who's
Mel Kiper?
What's that?
Isn't it Kiper? Mel Kiper?
Yeah.
Well, right, but you know how like I don't know, like Matt, I'm sure Matt's done it. I don't know if you guys usually do it. I usually watch the NBA draft and he'll tweet what the pick is, like before he even comes in, and then he got yelled at, and then there was some other guy, Shams was doing it, and then he couldn't do it, and then the Athletic got bought by these guys, and this guy moved here.
And now that Woj works for ESPN, he can't do that anymore because he works for the NBA draft.
Right.
So Jason La Canfora used to do that for CBS.
He's good.
And then when he got hired by NFL Network, it stopped because he got yelled at. Because what was happening is during the early stage of sports betting, companies weren't closing the sports bet until the pick was announced on TV, and they were getting basically he was sniping picks, and then so they basically told him to stop.
There you go. Okay.
So beyond the Patriots, Matt, you're the big draft expert. What else should we be looking for tonight? Because obviously you've been following this closely.
So the big talk right now is obviously Burrow's going first. Chase Young of Ohio State goes second to Washington. That's 99.9% set in stone. The big thing right now is what does Detroit do? And the second thing is the Tua versus Justin Herbert conversation. The second and third best quarterbacks, do they go to Miami and LA at 5 and 6? Do one of those teams jump up? Does someone else like the Raiders jump up from 11, pardon me? Do the Jaguars, that's the latest talk today as of 35 minutes ago, do the Jaguars bump from 9 to 3 and take Tua? So that's kind of the interesting one, the two quarterbacks.
What's Tua's health? Is he 100% healthy or nobody knows?
Depends on who you talk to. Some of the people on the Herbert side are saying that Tua's stuff is questionable. other people on non-biased and Tua's side are saying that it even looks better than before surgery. So I don't know what you can really believe.
Here's the other question. How the hell are we all going to boo Roger Goodell when he's in his basement and there's no one there to boo him?
Twitter.
Email.
Twitter. I was just going to say Twitter.
Cam, you want to explain it?
Do I want to explain what?
The boo.
I have no idea.
Oh,
Wait,
okay.
there's actually a way?
Yes. So I don't know the 100% the specifics, but with each of your tweets, the hashtag boo the commish, boo NFL commish, something like that. Bud Light is matching donations $1 for every tweet up to $500,000.
Really? That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the NFL is doing a lot of they're going to do a lot of charity tonight, I believe, for COVID relief, which will be good. Any big predictions before we move on from the NFL draft? Any like crazy trade you think is going to happen? Anything wild? I
went over my one. I think first crazy trade, Patriots trade, Joe Thuney to Cleveland for number 10, take 10 and 23, go get Tua. The second is that there will be 10 wide receivers drafted in the first round.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot.
May or may not have some money on that.
Who's
and the draft will be tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the top receiver, Matt?
My mind, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Consensus is Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. Jerry Jeudy is probably a better version of Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb is about Odell Beckham.
Is it because of height? You think that Judy's getting the nod?
He's a better route runner.
Yeah.
So. All right, you want to move on to the Red Sox?
All right.
All right, so you guys will have to take the lead on this, but obviously the big headline is what Cora is in trouble still, but it's only for his part with the Astros, right? He's not in trouble for anything with the Red Sox?
Yeah, it's because when he was with the Astros, so he's getting suspended because of what he did with them. And then I guess the reason that they went after the Red Sox is because when John Farrell was the manager, they were using the Apple Watches. And they were, hey, don't do this again. Okay, yeah, whatever. And then their video scout, who before the game and after the game, he was able to decode signs. But supposedly what he was doing was a guy would come and look at his at-bats and be like, oh, I just looked at this now, and this is what's going on. But they only had a system in place for when the guy was on second base, which for the Red Sox was 17% of the time. Unlike the Astros, where they're banging a barrel every pitch, every at-bat, everything going on. So are they cheaters? Yeah, I guess. But at the same time, it's kind of like it was the guy's job to figure out the signs. So, of course, I think he's kind of like, hey, I work with these professional athletes. I'm going to help them out. And I guess the whole thing was, I mean, you can take this with a grain of salt. The management said they didn't know what was going on. They probably did. But a lot of the players, I think two of them were said, I don't want to know what's coming because then some guys just don't like it. Now, what's funny is they threw this video guy under the bus, and any one of the players could have been like, oh, yeah, he did help us out. But so instead of like the front office and all these other guys, like the video guy from the Astros didn't get let go, but supposedly they were doing something similar. But it was like, the GM and all these guys, where the Red Sox, they did lose the second round pick though too, which is big because there's only 5 rounds in the draft this year for MLB.
So walk us through, and then Matt and Cam, you guys jump in. Walk us through again, Brian. What's the actual discipline that the Red Sox received?
So the discipline they received was basically they had to let go of their video coordinator, and he's an advanced scout. He's suspended for this year, and he cannot work next year, which that sounds like a 2-year suspension to me, but whatever. That's how they said it. And they lose their second round pick, which because they didn't have a great season last year, it will hurt them a little bit. But I mean, anybody can tell you baseball drafts, unless you get like the first 5 picks, you got no idea what you're doing. And it's all luck. It's all projection. Betts was what, a 5th round pick or something crazy. I mean, there's all these guys where Mike Piazza was the last pick in the draft for the Dodgers, and I mean that worked out. So it really, I think if you hit on 5% of your picks, you get to keep your job. I mean, it's that up in the air, So there's only 5 rounds this year because of whatever reason. I think it has to do with attendance and money. So the Red Sox, they think they're going to capitalize on the fact there's only 5 rounds because supposedly Bloom works really good with the amateurs and knows the amateur market really well. So you're going to sign free agent contracts with all these guys where normally they'd get picked in the 18th, 19th round. And because of that, you can give them, well, I mean, I'm not saying like, a $5,000 deal, but you're going to be able to save a ton of money. And you're going to get guys that maybe not, you wouldn't have got normally.
So the Red Sox 2018 title is not nearly as tainted as the Astros title.
I don't think so, but I mean, like Cam, goes to a lot of games like I do. The Astros all of a sudden became this obnoxious fan base. It was like when I went to the Astros game, and they're the new Yankees now. They go in, they take over the restaurants. It's like an hour and a half wait to get in anywhere at 5:30 when you go to a game now, and they're pounding their chest like, "Oh, we're the Astros and we're the best team in the world." And I'm like, "Okay, you lost Garrett Cole, yeah. I don't think they're this dynasty that everybody thinks they are, especially now where it was, Altuve hit 114 on the road and something like 447 at home, and you're like, okay, who's cheating where, what's going on? I don't think they're going to be they're still going to be good. My dad still thinks they're in the National League. But he's like, why do they have a? I'm like, he's like, okay, whatever. When are the Brewers coming to town? I'm like, Dad. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's not. I don't even think it's on the same level. So.
And Cam, fan of the Nationals, kind of mix that into the discussion too, because obviously they were able to beat the Astros this year.
It just adds to the fact that the Nationals were maybe the biggest underdog story in recent memory in Major League Baseball. It really makes it feel all the more better. It already felt amazing. It makes it feel all the more better. But going back to the Red Sox, I mean, I think this hurts a little bit, mostly because of the second round pick being lost. I mean, yeah, the draft was supposed to be shorter this year, but also the Red Sox farm system was pretty garbage to begin with because of the way that Dave Dombrowski just likes to go in with the machete and just start hacking, getting rid of people to bring in the big names. So I think that losing that second round pick really hurts the Red Sox more so than some people are willing to acknowledge. But I think compared to the Astros, I think got off a little bit light for what they did. Obviously, you don't want to bring the players in and suspend them because of the CBA and whatnot. But I think they were let off pretty lightly considering what they did. The Red Sox, I think it's, for the most part, a pretty fair punishment for what they allegedly did.
What was all the punishment for the Astros?
It was general manager was fired, manager or suspended and then fired. Manager AJ Hinch suspended then fired. There was like a $15 million fine, which is peanuts in baseball.
There was a monetary fine.
Yeah, and it was multiple draft picks too.
Yeah,
I think it was like 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. Yeah, but and I think the 15. I thought it was 5, but maybe it was 15.
Maybe.
The collective bargaining agreement says that that's the max you can fine someone for disciplinary reasons anyway. So like it's still like they should have said like, okay, you have to play all road games or something. Like that would have been like a punishment. Like the 15 million, it's like, oh geez, we'll sign another contract with Minute Maid orange juice. Here you go, here's the money. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I just want to see some baseball. I mean, I don't know what the plan is, and I heard something about they'll have the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League instead of American and National. That could work. But I mean, I've already missed 5 or 6 games already, and it's kind of like I just want to see sports. I don't care. I feel bad for like Pawtucket. They're not going to have a season probably. And it's the last year
last season at McCoy.
Yeah, so I feel bad for those people. And then a lot of minor league teams where, I mean, I don't know how much you guys travel, but I did a Midwest trip. Some places, that's the only thing they have going on in the town. And if they don't have baseball, they don't have anything. I mean, we're lucky. We get distractions. We can go places and do things. But a lot of these places don't have that. And without sports in general, it's tough.
So I will say, obviously, I am probably the least baseball. Like out of the 4 of us here, baseball, I'm probably the least fandom of it. But I will admit, I will have to say, okay, Dan and I are probably very close compared to Brian and Cam. Like we don't even exist. But I was very intrigued. Obviously, first off, I think the Red Sox basically got away with nothing. They basically got a slap on the wrist just because they were guilty by association. The fact that they weren't punished for a month and a half because no one wanted to file the paperwork, complete BS. Houston, honestly, as someone that doesn't really care that much about baseball, I was intrigued by them being offensive minded and going forward and getting more hits. People talk about, I forget, it was either game 4 or game 5 of the Dodgers Astros World Series as being one of the greatest World Series games in modern history.
Game 5,
or
I
at least,
believe.
Yeah. Why was it great? It wasn't because it was a 0-0 pitcher's duel with guys striking out and going. It was an offensive duel, and the reason it was an offensive duel was because one team was cheating, and I didn't care because I was seeing guys hit bombs, guys get hits, let back and forth hitting left and right, and hitting makes baseball enjoyable to some low fan like me. So
Well, yeah.
I know I'm in the.
That's the baseball anarchy argument, where it's like let the players use steroids, let them put whatever they want in their body. It's their decision.
I'm not ready to go to steroids. I'll admit that. I'm not ready to go that far. But you will admit baseball is more fun when guys are hitting 70, 80 bombs a year. But that's another argument. I think you're really seeing the split between, there is no middle ground baseball fan anymore. You're either baseball, who was the ex-Yankee that was complaining about the kids in baseball like 4 years ago?
Dontrelle Willis?
No. I think there was Goose Gossage. That's who it was.
Goose Gossage, yeah.
Yeah, and when Bryce Harper had to make baseball fun again, like those are the two crowds you have nowadays, I feel like. And it doesn't matter your age. I feel like those are the two crowds you're in. But
All right, want to move on to our final topic?
Sure.
The Last Dance, the big 10-part documentary series on ESPN. It premiered last Sunday, the first 2 episodes. I thought the first 2 episodes were fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this week's 3rd episode because that's going to be a lot about Dennis Rodman. So that's going to be really interesting, to say the least. But what were your initial impressions of the first 2 episodes? I know, Cam, you didn't watch it. Also, Cam, you weren't even born in 1998, were you?
No, I was a 1999er.
So you should watch this. This will be educational for you. Go back and watch the first 2.
You know, I'm not getting any level of education in any other way right now, so I might as well watch it.
Yeah, but you went to the native school system. You never really did get any level of education.
Brian, what were your takeaways from the first 2 episodes?
Well, I was reminded again how much of a douchebag Scottie Pippen is. You know, and it's like, well, they were going to trade me anyway, so I just had surgery halfway through the season. And it's like, no. And then Michael Jordan's like, why don't you have surgery before? And then I think a lot of people don't remember.
Well,
I do because I was a fan. What's that?
Ever. He signed one of the dumbest contracts ever.
For Jerry Krause, yeah, it was a great contract. For him, he was an idiot.
Yeah.
And you know, Krause says that, but I mean, come on. But it was kind of like, you know, you figure, you know, there's the whole meeting with where they tell, you know, Phil Jackson, hey, listen, this is it, you're going to leave. Phil's like, I want to make a lot of money. It's like, all right. So they give him a 1-year, $6 million contract. And I mean, I hate Phil Jackson anyway. I think he's like one of the most overrated coaches ever in the history of planet Earth. But it's kind of like, all right, you know, this is going to be our last year. And what I got a kick out of it, it reminded me of the Patriots. You got power struggles, you got a common goal, and people almost hate each other, and they're doing whatever they can to get it to work out. And I wouldn't be surprised if 10 or 15 years from now, you see something on ESPN or whatever the sports network is at that point about how Tom Brady left and how everything, because there's a lot of similarities between the two, where you have a dominant guy come in, an alpha personality, you have a really strong coach. And I mean, Bob Kraft isn't, you know, as much as a douche as Reinsdorf and Krause were, but I mean, you're printing money there. You got a gold mine, and you kind of let it disappear because of egos, and it's dumb.
Yeah,
and,
the Bulls situation, Brian, I think is even worse than the Patriots, because why the hell does Jerry Krause want to break up the Bulls when Michael Jordan is basically still at the peak of his powers? He could have stayed for another couple of seasons. He ended up coming back 2 years later with the Wizards. Why the hell did Krause want to break up this team? It makes absolutely no sense.
If you watch it, I mean, you know, Krause is a little fat little guy, and Scottie Pippen ripped him publicly as much as possible. Jordan did the same thing. It was an ego thing. It was strictly an ego thing. And it was like, well, I'm the GM. I built this team. It's like, yeah, but come on. I mean, you know, give me a break. But so they made all these moves, and he did have a good point where, you know, Pippen was probably at the height of his powers along with Jordan was, but Rodman wasn't going to do much more. The team really had like no bench at all, pretty much. It was Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. And once Phil left and Pippen left, did Jordan take a year off, or I forget exactly what happened? 2 years off, and then he was, he reminded me like Dominique Wilkins when he was on the Celtics. He was the guy who's going to put up 20 and do okay, but he wasn't Michael Jordan anymore.
But that was 2 years later.
Oh, I know, but like it was like it's that's 2 years, but then you get the other 2 years where he basically got suspended for gambling, where they kind of don't talk about that. And they're like, oh, he went to play baseball. Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Because it was a dream of his whole life. Like, give me a break.
So
Yeah, I'll let you jump in a second, but I also want to say it would have been the perfect situation for the Bulls to come back and win a fourth straight title, because that next season, if you remember, was a lockout shortened season. It was only 50 games. So even if Jerry Krause wants to say that all the guys were getting too old, they would have only had to play 50 games and they would have won their fourth straight title. Just makes no sense.
The issue with that is Phil Jackson was definitely not coming back, and then Jordan wouldn't have played. And then you would have had Scottie Pippen be by himself. And, he doesn't like to take the last shot. He's not an alpha. When they played against the Knicks or whatever, he's like, I'm just going to sit on the bench because Tony Kukoc.
No, he wanted a shot, but because Jackson didn't diagram the play for him, he sat out.
Right. Yeah. He's like, I'm not doing this. It's like, give me a break. Like in that instance, you saw Scottie Pippen is more like LeBron than Jordan.
Which is, that's a very good description, and I think physically and all that. I will say, so I loved it. It was probably 2 of the best hours of TV I've seen in the past couple months. Not that there's a lot on. A couple things I noticed. One is if I don't get me wrong, Scottie Pippen should have been paid. Scottie Pippen is a top 5 player in that time frame.
He signed the contract to himself.
So that I will say, as much as I think something could have been done, it's not like the owner was trying to like fleece him and be like, hey, this is a great deal. You came from nothing. You need to sign this.
Remember what the owner said?
He said, don't take this. He said, do not sign this. You will hate yourself if you sign this.
Do you believe that? Do you think he really said that to him?
I'd say like 60%.
I'd love to hear what the agent heard.
That's a fair point. So if something comes out where it's like the owner lied, sure, that's one thing.
Oh, yeah.
For purposes of this, I'm going to say
You're going to trust Jerry Krause and Ryan Storm?
No, not Krause. Krause can go get punted.
Krause is dead.
Yeah. Well,
he rests in peace.
Seriously. But no, I'm not going to say he shouldn't have paid him more because something could have come up. But at the same time, that team was literally, I think it was 68% or something like that of the salary was Jordan.
Yeah,
so it's not like, so it's not like other guys were getting, Jordan was 30, guys were 20, 15, 10, and then Pippen was 3 or whatever. It was Jordan's 35. The next highest guy, I think, was Rodman at like 4.5 or 5.
I think per year, LeBron James has still not made as much as Jordan did. And keep along how many years that is. I think Curry, he's not making 40 yet either. I don't think anybody has made. I think there might be like a handful of guys that are making 35. But if you figure inflation-wise, 20 years, that's insane.
All in all, I will say that I can't wait for the Rodman one, Dan, like you said. But I was reading something, and it's like Jordan is the most selfish, like straight-edge person you could ever meet, like on and off the basketball court. It's like, why? Because he was a rookie and didn't want to go do blow and party with girls his rookie year when he wanted to be the greatest ever. Like, that's not those two don't go together.
It's just showing it. Michael Jordan is like the most competitive person on the planet, and that's why he is Michael Jordan. And I can't wait to see more of the behind-the-scenes video of him just like ripping into his teammates.
He punched up Steve Kerr, which that's the best thing in the world you can do. Talk about an arrogant son of a bitch, Steve Kerr.
So my favorite part of it was what came out on Twitter, which is, did you guys hear where where Michael finally said okay to this documentary? It was right after LeBron won his Cleveland title. And Michael literally called whoever had all the film and said, now's when you make it.
Wow. Wait, who said?
Right. There was some article from Ramona Shelburne about that Michael Jordan said basically LeBron lifted that title, made a phone call. They started working on it like the day after LeBron won the Cleveland title.
LeBron wins that title. His legacy is starting to go places. Now I need to get this out there. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I heard that's a great article.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm a big fan of Ramona's. Just kind of, it seems like she does those interesting stories that really that you don't even think of, and then she all of a sudden writes it, and it's like, oh my god, that's amazing. But
so yeah, we'll keep this is going to be something to watch for the next couple weeks. And
what is Cam doing down there?
I can say what I can say what he's doing, but I don't want to offend anyone.
All right, Murph's second appearance on the show is official.
Is that the kitty?
Yeah, it is. She couldn't keep away for a half an hour.
Maybe someday, Cam, when Corona's behind us, we can do another show from your pool.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm not waiting for the coronavirus to end. I'm just gonna go.
You're always welcome.
I'm gonna drink Corona while I'm in the pool.
You're always welcome. All of you are always welcome.
Thank you, Cam. All right, we're good on time, guys. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye? We had a lot to talk about, which was nice.
The next show might be from a tailgate in Natick.
Dun, dun, dun.
Not like a tailgate scene, like an actual tailgate.
In the tailgate of the truck.
Yeah.
He's got to show up then.
There you go. All right, Brian, Matt, Cam, I'm Dan. Thanks so much. Spin the music.